Whether you are looking to sell and exit the property management business, expand your existing firm by buying another company, or partner with a larger, well-established and well-funded property management company, you'll need an accurate way to determine a fair value. So let's review the current best practices for valuing a property management business. The process of purchasing a property management company includes 4 simple components: the valuation, the letter of intent, the purchase agreement, and the closing. First, let's talk in detail about the valuation of the property management company that is for sale. Whether you are the buyer or seller, you must begin by assessing the proper value of the company to be purchased. The due diligence process includes a review of the company's financials and the portfolio of homes they manage, which takes about 2 weeks if all of the documents are in order. Documents needed include the company's financial statements, portfolio details, management agreement, lease agreement, and audited trust account documentation. It's very important to ask the right questions about these documents as well as the company's overall operations. This is where a trusted advisor becomes invaluable, as they have the experience to perform a clear analysis and accurately calculate the company's market value. A thorough review will include questions about the technology platform in use and the general operational efficiency of the company, as well as exploring the actual profitability of the company. One important method of measuring a property manager's efficiency is evaluating the ratio of employees to homes managed. A good rule of thumb is to have about 120 to 150 homes managed per employee. So, for example, if the company manages 500 homes, they should have approximately 4 to 5 total employees, including the owner. Efficiency also includes an evaluation of the quality of the current employees, such as how long they have been with the company and the standard of service they provide. An experienced advisor can offer several reliable ways to measure employee performance. When evaluating the firm's profitability, it is important to note that it is not just a matter of how many units are managed, but to consider the profit per unit managed. A large number of units under management does not necessarily mean they are actually profitable. So let's dive into the specific methods of valuation. There are 2 common ways to establish a value for a property management company. These include a multiple of your annual profit or a multiple of your annual revenue. Let's start with the most widely used valuation method, the multiple of profit method. To value a company based on profit or EBITDA, you will multiply the annual profit by a multiple, typically between 4 times and 6 times. The multiple is determined by the current health of the business and quality of the property management contracts. More specifically, you will evaluate the total units managed and, more importantly, the profit per property, the historical financial returns of the company, the strength of the staff and leadership team, the health and value of the management contracts, the strength of the brand in the marketplace, the previous 2 years' revenue and profit. Let's look at a simple example using the multiple of profit method. If a company averages an annual profit or EBITDA of $200,000 and is healthy enough to achieve a 4 times multiple, the total valuation of the company would be worth $800,000 or 4 times $200,000. Finally, let's look at method 2, or multiple of revenue. This common method essentially values the company at 1 year's gross or top line revenues before expenses. Based on the same quality and health factors, this number may be adjusted up or down. So, for example, a healthy company that averages $1,300,000 in revenue per year would be valued at exactly that amount, whereas a company with weaker health factors may instead warrant a multiple of 0.75, or a value of $975,000 in this example. These multiples are based on realistic valuations supported by most underwriters. Once you have worked with your advisor to complete the valuation and establish a competitive purchase price for the company, the next step is to draft a letter of intent. A letter of intent is a non-binding written agreement that outlines the preliminary understanding between the buyer and the seller. This letter sets forth the proposed structure of the transaction, price, payment terms, as well as other important features of the agreement. Once the seller and buyer agree on all of the terms in the letter of intent, the purchase agreement is the legally binding final document that will be executed prior to closing. The document details the structure and terms of the transaction and discloses all important legal, operational, and financial aspects for both the buyer and the seller. The purchase agreement generally takes another 2 to 3 weeks to finalize. It is important to the buyer to preserve the value of the company throughout the transition. This is why in most scenarios, the terms of the agreement will specify that the purchase price of the company will be paid in full over approximately 10 to 18 months, although most of the funds are paid up front at closing. Also, the buyer will usually ask the seller to stay on for a specific amount of time to ensure a smooth transition. At a minimum, the seller will be required to be available to answer questions. The payment terms are negotiable, but a good rule of thumb is 60 to 80% of the purchase price to be paid in cash at closing, with the remaining amount due within the following calendar year. This can be advantageous to the seller for tax purposes. Also, the final payment is often subject to a reserve for lost accounts or clawback as part of the purchase agreement. This is a standard clause in our industry where the buyer deducts a set amount for any properties lost within a designated period after the sale. This reserve duration is typically between 8 to 12 months and helps to align the goals of both the seller and buyer to retain all clients after the transition. Let's review a quick example on how a reserve for lost accounts may look. If you sell your company for $750,000 and manage 500 homes, the per unit purchase price amounts to $1,500 per home. In the case of a 1-year reserve period, if 15 homes were lost in the 12 months after the sale, there would be a reserve of $1,500 for each lost property, or a total of $22,500 deducted from the final payment. If you negotiated 80% of the purchase price to be paid at closing, or $600,000 as an initial payment, the second payment of $150,000 minus the reserve deduction would be paid after the reserve period. In this case, the second payment would be $127,500. Also note that this income would most likely be considered capital gains for you, which is typically taxed at a significantly lower tax rate versus the higher ordinary income tax rate. Finally, the closing takes place when both parties in the transaction consummate the deal by the execution and delivery of all documents and the transfer of funds. The complete process from due diligence through closing typically takes approximately 8 weeks. Just imagine, as a seller, in less than 2 months, you can be free of the daily operational headaches while cashing out and being free to focus on what matters most to you. Plus, for those who still enjoy the business and wish to continue working within the industry, there are options to partner with a larger, well-established, and well-funded property management company and reap the benefits of both selling and staying in the business. This route may allow you to receive a cash payout while enjoying some equity in a larger firm as you help take your company to the next level. In this partnership scenario, you would typically sell approximately 75 to 85% of your company while retaining ownership of the balance. You receive a cash payout, an ongoing salary, and annual dividends for your hard work. Our partnership also allows you to enjoy the autonomy to focus on the parts of the business you enjoy while offloading much of the stress and responsibility of running a property management company. For those considering a partnership, it is important to find the right partner. Look for a hard-working team that is well-equipped to grow your business through strong leadership, proven strategies, advanced technology and systems, strong capital resources, and deep operational experience. The right partner can enable you to truly dominate in your local market and build the legacy you envision without having to go it alone. Whatever your goals, we are here as a strategic advisor to help create a win-win solution that can work for you. We have helped many property managers just like you to leave behind the many stresses of this difficult industry, the financial worries, competitive pressures, constant tenant, owner, and employee demands, lack of infrastructure, and the heavy personal toll. Best of all, you can cash out. The future you envision may be more achievable than you thought. It all starts with a friendly conversation about your goals. Call us today.